Hello, buddy. San here, engineer, MBA, and investor. And in today's Saturday video, we are talking about what is going on with Exa-Cel. Is the FDA doubting it? Just like you probably saw from the title of this video, there's a lot of FUD happening: fear, uncertainty, doubt, short for PUD. And I was looking at this morning. I basically woke up, went on X.com, and I got tagged a couple of times like, hey, what's going on here? And basically I saw these comments being made from someone on X.com, one of our members of our community. Horrible FDA news. Dr. Komudi Singh of the FDA is saying Exa-Cel is not ready to be approved. She stated, FDA was concerned by limitation in the company's analysis and lack of information is concerning. The limitations support the need of additional studies to assess the safety of Exa-Cel. The lack of clarity on information is the reason for additional studies needed to assess the safety of Exa-Cel. The small number of sequencing data present in the database and lack of confirmatory testing of all off-target possibilities is concerning. They did not report the variants in the hydrogenetic analysis. The variants must be reported to us for properly assessed. With the available data, we cannot perform adequate risk assessment at this locus in the presence of this variant. We are concerned about the different numbers of off-target variation. Dr. Singh also spoke of unedited edits, cancer, long-term effect, lack of study, and insufficient. Replied with the following: Dr. Singh is just a reviewer of the FDA, while the head of the FDA, Dr. Nicole, opinion carries more weight. And what did Dr. Nicole had to say about Exa-Cel at that meeting? Well, Dr. Nicole Verdun, head of the FDA, said, quote, "It is an exciting time in cell and gene therapy that we are beginning to address some of these unmet needs of variety of diseases. Exa-Cel has been studied for treatment of sickle cell disease with severe VOCs and has shown efficacy and safety." Throughout the discussion, the FDA emphasized the importance of minimizing unintended gene alterations, raising concerns about potential off-target editing and associated risk. Quote, and of course, this is a quote from the Singh here, basically talking about the risk here that we just basically covered in the previous post from the other user. As per Dr. Daniel Bauer, a researcher of Boston Children's Hospital, theoretically, could it? Yes. Is there evidence to suggest that it does? I would say no. But this hasn't really been done very much. We need to be humble and open to learning from these brave patients who are participating. So let's give my thoughts here. Like, I read you guys the two sides, right? I read one side that basically Dr. Singh, a reviewer from the FDA, part of the FDA organization, is basically stating the obvious, right? The off-target potential risk. That, by the way, I want to remind viewers, this has been a topic for years, right? It's not like in that video, it's the first time ever that we learn about off-target risk, right? In fact, Dr. Singh referenced to two studies that we basically it's been out there for years, right? We've reviewed that actually in this channel, I remember. So as what I'm getting at, it's nothing new. The thing that's new here is that the FDA is literally mentioning that in their AdCom meeting, advisory committee meeting there that happened a couple of weeks ago. In fact, over a month ago at this point. And this was the meeting, right? And I was actually trying to look for that particular sentence from Dr. Singh, and I found it. If you just a pro tip, guys, if you have a long video, this one's like 7 hours, right? I can't just go through minute by minute. You can just search for the transcript. I searched for Singh. I saw when she started talking, and obviously, I totally understand where she's coming from. I want to remind viewers, the role of the FDA is to see all the potential risk and to protect citizens, right? It's to serve the safety of citizens first, right? Their role is not to benefit a company or an industry or just a technology just on a vacuum, right? Their role is to make sure that whatever is introduced in the capitalist market of the US, it is actually protecting and safe for citizens, right? Because the last thing the FDA wants is to allow technology in the markets be deployed for therapies, commercialized it, and then you guys got to remember they're literally going to be the first one getting the heat from the government, from the public, from citizens, from community. It's not going to be those companies. It is not going to be those companies. And if you think that's the case, Jen, I want to remind people of what happened during the pandemic. I mean, I know the companies got some heat for it, specifically some big companies there. But the FDA was basically the big topic for many, many months, right? And you guys gotta remember, whatever they approve, they're liable on it, right? So it is in their interest to do these types of research, these types of statements, especially when it comes to an open discussion with a bunch of external committees, a bunch of scientists around the globe there when it comes to different expertise, and not just really specific for just the FDA, right? And it makes sense to express that. Now, do I necessarily agree with those concerns? I think, like I said, there's nothing new. And like this person said from X.com, it is a reviewer of the FDA. Again, it is their role to do this. But you guys got to remember, the FDA is huge, right? This organization is huge. Some may argue it may be a bit too big, right? A little bit too much bureaucracy. But in a sense where the head of the FDA is actually a fan of CRISPR, it's a fan of gene therapy as a whole, and genome editing, right? And Dr. Nicole there, I mean, already mentioned in that video actually that, this is an exciting time and, we can reduce the VOCs, show it has Exa-Cel has shown efficiency and safety. So you guys gotta remember, right? There's more than one person in the FDA, and again, the role of the FDA as a whole, as an organization, is not necessarily to block innovation, but is to make sure that innovation is protecting citizens, right? So, am I concerned about this? Not really. I mean, guys, you guys gotta remember, the decision is about to come in the next 6 business days, right? 5 business days, rather. I mean, by 8 December, Friday next week, we will have an answer. If this gets approved, it is what it is. If it does get rejected, like I said in my last video, the poll that I started, about 90% of folks think it'll be accepted. About 10% will think it's rejected. The only thing I can see this be rejected, I don't think it'll be flat out rejected. I think it'll be delayed, which is still a bad thing. Don't get me wrong. I really want this to be approved, obviously, not just because I'm an investor, but also for patients. We've already beat the dead horse on that topic. But if it is, in the event it is rejected, I think it will be delayed, right? And I think what's going to happen is they'll probably reassess this by the first half of 2024. Based on maybe those comments, which is basically needing more data on off targets and so on. I just don't see how you can get more data in that short time span. I think at some point you have to pull the trigger, right? If I'm the FDA, I see these concerns, but then I see the trade-off, which is basically median age, for example, in the UK for sickle cell disease, lifespan is 40 years, beta thalassemia is 50, or maybe it's the reverse there. But the point here is that people are obviously dying sooner. Their community is affected. These VOCs are extremely expensive. They're extremely resource intensive. Hospitals don't really have that capacity. Folks in the US don't really have, with that disease, most of them don't really have the means to cover the cost. And again, you guys have to remember, it's not just about the patients, it's about the community, it's about the hospital, it's about the doctors, it's about everybody involved in this rare disease, which is sickle cell disease, right? And I think the FDA has to take a decision at this point, right? The same way they took that decision during the pandemic, right? Did they have the full set of data? Were they aware of the full efficiency, of the full safety? I think we all agree that that was not the case. Yet they pulled the trigger and allowed it because they were in an emergency time and they had to do something, right? And again, I'm not stating this is compared to that time, right? This is not an emergency time for the whole masses of the US. But given the data that we have for years now from Exa-Cel, the safety data, the efficiency data, and that the fact that there's absolutely no alternative, you guys gotta remember, there is no alternative to this. A one-time treatment that shows this much efficiency, and safety rather, there's no alternative right now in the commercial market. I think, the FDA has to consider that, right? They have to. So I think it's going to be an interesting time, guys. I really, really think so. I think these comments here from user Morgan here, and it's been going around here, and a lot of people getting, this post got over almost 1,000 views here. So people are getting worried here. Obviously, like I said, I got tagged, and I wanted to pitch in my couple of comments here. Again, am I worried? Not really. I think first of all, these was comment made over a month ago. The fact that it's surfacing now, it's because someone brought it up on X.com. In a 7 hours video with a bunch of people from different fields, including the FDA, which has a lot of people involved, you're bound to have people talk about, the off-target risk, the risk that other studies have brought up when it comes to CRISPR-Cas9 first gen. You're bound to have that, right? This is just in human nature, right? And, for us to say that you would have a discussion without bringing this up, I think that's a little bit naive, considering that, every day almost on X.com, someone talks about the CRISPR-Cas9 off-target risk, again, relating to those studies that happened years ago that people knew for years, right? So this, again, nothing new. And actually, even Dr. Sam from CRISPR Therapeutics actually mentioned themselves about the 1% potential risk, right? They're the one who actually said it themselves, right? So it's not like this was hidden and no one brought it up. So there's nothing new. It's just, being surfaced right now because someone watched this video and brought it up. So I think it's a healthy discussion. Again, we'll know the decision by Friday of next week. So we'll see how this goes. I'll end this video like this, guys. As always, subscribe if you know. Like this video if you found value. And let me know, guys, what do you guys think about these comments from this reviewer from the FDA? Should we be worried? Should we be not? Let me know. Curious to see what you guys think. Thank you so much for watching.